All right, so this shouldn't take very long, you guys, because we're really just going over how to take x-rays with our system. You are still putting in orders in Evet, just like you would before. We have it hooked up to the rocket packs or the vet rocket, whatever it's called. We've been calling it both today. So it is hooked up to that. So once you put in your order in Evet, it's still going there, and this is pulling those orders from there. So turning on the computer, I didn't put a password on here. Well, I removed the password that comes on it. That was Liz's request. So there is no password when you turn it on. If you wake it up from sleeping, there's no password. Now we do recommend rebooting it once every 24 hours, and you will get a pop-up message if it's been over 24 hours since it was rebooted. You can click OK through it. You can still take x-rays, so it's not going to stop you. So if you ran in here trying to take a stat or something and that pops up, just click OK. You can still take x-rays. But it will remind you.
If you click it a lot of times, like throughout the day, because you're so busy, like if you're on a shift and continues to say that, and we continue to click because we don't have time, will that mess up the system?
Essentially, it's not going to mess it up, but the idea is to reboot it every 24 hours to keep things running smooth.
Okay.
So it's just going to keep reminding you,
right.
Hey, you haven't rebooted. And so what it does when you reboot, it kind of clears the memory and everything, clears out any temporary files, clears out things that could slow things down. So that's why we recommend doing it.
How long does the reboot process take?
Depends on if updates have been run.
Can you give me both scenarios, without updates and with updates?
Without updates, it's usually just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Maybe 3 to 5 minutes.
So if we have to do a reboot and updates have not been done, it'll prompt something that says you must update now, and so then the update will take how long?
With updates, that all depends as well. It depends on what all was updated. Yeah. So you'll see when you go to the start menu and you go, if you click on the little power thing, it'll say update and restart, or it'll say restart, or it'll say update and shut down. So most of the time it'll let you choose whether or not to run the update. So if you're having to reboot and you need it to be done fast, you should be able to choose.
And how frequent are the updates? Monthly, bi-monthly?
They're Windows updates, so that's but yeah, so I can't really say how long each Windows update's going to take, because that's kind of on them.
Okay.
All right, so the software that we're using to take the x-rays is IDEX PACS, so I put the icon right in the middle so it's easy to find. So this is a touch screen, but you're going to see me use the mouse a lot because I'm not that great with touch screens.
Same. Fingers fat.
Exactly, that's what I call it, I fat finger everything.
Every time.
So it is going to pull down, here's your pending list. So there was a lot of things I think that were put in today for x-ray that were taken on your CT that are still just kind of there. But I know that Liz already put through on Sophia is the one that we're using today. So I know she needs a MET check. That's what we were told. So this is your pending list. To start a study, you're just going to hit the little radiology symbol next to the name of the patient. And then we do also have the stat. So stat is the one with the little plus sign. That'll start a study immediately without putting in an order in Evet. It's just if we do that, then we have to assign it to a patient, and then we have to manually push it over. But if you do have something, I know you guys being 24 hours, I'm sure you have enough things that just run in the door, you need to get it back here and take an x-ray now. That's where you would use stat. And it'll let you choose dog and cat, and then choose shots and go forward. So moving to the table real quick, we're gonna kind of go away from the software. The table itself, it does move. They were saying your last one moved back and forth. This one moves all the way around. So it goes, you know, left and right, and it goes front and back. So it just kind of, it's got that 360-degree movement. The other thing is, this moves back and forth as well.
That's what's
Sweet.
The collimator light, your button is right here. Well, it helps if I turn the table on first.
Sorry about it.
So there is an on and an off button right here on the table. So we turn it on, and then this is where your collimator light is. So you can turn that on, and these knobs are going to adjust that collimation. Again, you can move this back and forth. The little laser right here also lines up with the tray. So I've got it, there we go. So it kind of lines up with that little notch there. And what that does is that makes sure the plate's lined up. If you do an oblique, I was told that sometimes you do roll the tube head, you can actually slide the whole tray over, and you can use the laser to line it up when you turn it sideways. When it hits that, you know it's hitting the plate.
You know it's here. Okay.
Yeah. So to detach it, you just press this button right here. You see that there?
Yes.
So you push that. That will actually take it off alignment if you did need to roll it and do an oblique shot.
That's what's up.
I'll straighten it myself. When we pull it back, it'll click back into place. And then again, you can just kind of make sure that that kind of matches up there. So I think we're a little... Let's see. It's easier to do it standing in front. Because now I'm just trying to push it. But you can see we can rotate that head until that little light is right there in the notch.
Perfect.
And then you'll notice when I was trying to do it, this ended up moving up and down a little bit. You do want these two dots to always be where it says two receptors. So if it gets bumped up or it gets bumped down for any reason, that's going to be the default. That's where you are 40 inches from the tube to the plate itself, which is the distance that you always want for the system. So as far as putting in, we are going to put in the measurement in here. So we're going to be measuring with calipers, and it will tell us what KVP and what MAS to use. So on here, you just use the arrows up and down on KVP and on MAS to set those two numbers. So, any questions about the table itself?
This is something you have to set every time you take an X-ray, or it automatically saves.
You'll have to set it every time, because
time.
when you're changing, you know,
Different positions.
different body parts, different patient sizes, you'll need to change those numbers
Okay.
depending on what you're taking.
Okay.
So, all right. So back to the software here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the little radiology symbol on Sophia. So I am going to do touchscreen. I did it. And it's going to give you a picture of what I like to call the butcher block dog, because it looks like it is separated into different body parts. From what I understand, we are doing a MET check. So if we choose thorax, sorry, you're fine. Here, do you want to cut the light off? It might show up a little bit better. Is that better?
I don't know. I had to go.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. So if you hit the thorax, it's going to give you a list of all the different thoracic shots that we have. So we can do a right lateral, we can add a VD, and then we can add a left lateral. And you'll see it's adding them over here on this list, which is going to be our queue of images we're planning to take. When we are finished, we can go ahead and hit done. I do want to point out though that we have some tabs up here. So we have 2 up, 4 up, small animal, whole body. What those are some pre-selected shots for you. So if MET check, I would imagine is probably something that you guys do frequently. We can actually save that into one of these not assigned tabs, so that when you come in, you can just hit MET check and it'll add these 3 shots for you. So the way we do that is if we hit done here, and this is gonna beep, just so you know. That beep is just saying the plate's awake and ready. It also goes along with this green light when you hear that beep. But if we want to save this, there's a little star right here. I can hit that star, and then I can type in a name, and I can save that as met check.
Okay.
And we can hit save. So next time you come in, I'm gonna go to add shots here to bring this back, but next time you come in, you'll see met check is one of those options.
Is there a maximum number of just the tabs we see at the top, the 8 or so tabs?
I'm not sure if it'll add more, but there is a way to go in and delete ones you don't use to free up more tabs.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can go over the amount that like we see here,
The
like the
9,
not
okay.
assigned.
Got it.
But there's a lot of clinics don't do the 2 up because they don't want just a lateral abdomen and a lateral thorax. So we do have a lot of people who will delete those ones out.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hit done. It's gonna beep again. But at this point, we're ready to go ahead and measure the patient. And so, how many people have never used these? Okay. I'd say I see that a lot when we're going from a weight-based system. So measuring calipers, basically what we're wanting to measure is we're wanting to measure the path that the x-ray beam is going to take. So if you're doing a lateral shot, the patient's gonna be laying on its side. The beam's gonna come out of here, and it's gonna enter one side of the patient, exit the other side, and then hit the plate. So we're measuring from where it enters to where it exits. So you're gonna go side to side for a lateral. When you measure, so sometimes it's easiest, just go ahead and lay them on the table, slide this up under them, and then just kind of bring this down. We don't want to squeeze, but we want to read from the bottom right here. So this would be 7 centimeters. So we're reading the smaller numbers on the side. So let's say our patient was 7 centimeters. Then we would come here where it says 6 to 10. I could hit that and it's going to tell me to set for this thorax shot 71 kVp and 2 MAS.
So,
All right.
can I do that just for pretend for the video?
Yeah.
Yes.
As you're
That's
doing
nice.
it.
Well, we'll want to go ahead and bring Sophia in anyway, so we'll end up getting a real measurement on her.
Do you really want to grow, Sophia?
Good old Sophia. She legally blind.
Wrong dog.
Oh, that's not that
That's
Sophia?
Sophie.
Let's go ahead and measure for your lateral. You are a chunky girl. All right. So she's about 15 for her lateral. And I'm going to go ahead and measure her VD as well. So her VD is going to be this way. And she's 17 on that. So we're going to end up changing. So both laterals are going to have the same setting. And then we'll change for the VD. So 15 is the 11 to 15 range. So for her, she would be 82 and 2.0. Oh, what's nice is these kind of fit right there too.
Well, we don't knock those down.
You might. And scare the crap out of yourself and the patient. All right, so at this point, we're ready to go ahead and, position her, collimate, and step on the pedal. Now the pedal is a 2-stage pedal, which I'm sure your last one probably was too, where you hold it. You'll hear kind of an audible click from the table when it's ready for you to press all the way down to fire. So you'll hear spin, click, and then you can fire. If you're more of a visual person, there's these lights right here. Let's see if I can pop this out a little more. There you go. There's a prep light and an exposed light. So the prep light will blink green, and when it's ready, it'll turn solid green. And then you can step all the way down to fire. So if you're a visual person, if maybe you're a little hard of hearing or anything, that's where you can look at those lights.
It's blinking, it's ready. When it's blinking, it's not ready yet.
Correct.
It's solid.
When it's blinking, it's priming.
And
It
then
goes solid.
You can press.
Correct.
All right, so now we're going to put our guy in right lateral.
You're all right. You're okay.
Okay.
Let me collimate a little more, thank you. Okay. 2-button process.
Shooting.
Ready.
Success?
Success.
Success.
Okay.
We want to wait for the beep again. There's your success.
Girl, Sophia.
Ready?
Yep.
So the first image that pops up is the raw image. When you hear the beep and you see that dotted line, that's after it's processed.
There's like 4 or 5 of us here.
So on that, we measured between 16 and 20. So you want to make sure you choose that.
And then we gotta change
You can step on this. So it'll be 91 and 2.
Okay. 91.
Okay. All right.
Your what?
Trough. Big trough.
Oh, big one right here.
He is the big one.
Yeah.
That's alright. Ready, Sophia? Good girl. Good girl. Listen, I'm an expert at this. Alright, kiddo. Okay.
Ready?
Shooting. Beautiful.
All right.
Safe to come in.
Thanks, come in.
Good girl, Sophia. Good job so far.
I'm gonna go right past you. Can you see it okay? Can everybody see okay?
Yes.
All right. So there was the question, because in this case we don't have the markers, but we're gonna try to find them. But how to put on a digital marker. So we do have our left and right here. So the L and the R, I can choose one of them. It gives us several different letters, but we'll go ahead and choose an L and we'll place it over in this corner here. So it's gonna ask you what corner you wanna place it in. The dotted line you see around the image, that's gonna be what we collimated to. That's what we call the auto crop. When it crops, that left marker is going to move with it, so it will remain in that corner. It's not going to crop it out. There's only a few things that we really recommend doing at this point on this screen, because we're going to save like the base image, and then they're going to be able to open it up in Rocket Packs and do any changes, manipulations in there. So we just want to make sure that we have the image. It looks good. We put a marker on it. And we don't need to retake it. We've got what we need. And then we can hit done down here in the corner, and that will end the study and send it over. Now, if we looked at this and we said, it's not a great image, but we don't really want to get rid of it, we have some icons up here. So when you go back and forth between shots, whichever one you have selected, you'll see these icons. Now the first one is actually a new one with this version of the software. It's called Enhanced Contrast, where we can actually add another shot without taking another x-ray. It will apply enhanced cardiac contrast on it. So you get to choose between 3. We have abdominal, cardiac, and orthopedic. So if we were wanting to see the heart better in this image, we could apply the cardiac, and what you'll see is it adds another shot. It takes that raw file, and then it's going to apply different processing. So once we see the box and hear that beep, that's our final image there. And it labels that image as EC cardiac or EC abdominal, EC for enhanced contrast. So we do have that option. The other options that we have on here is we have retake and replace. So retake, if you look at it, it looks like a little radiology symbol with 2 squares on it. But retake is going to allow you to take another image without getting rid of the one that you just took. So if you click on that, it's just going to add another shot for you to go ahead and take a second one. Replace would actually wipe that image out. So that would be if it just was completely undiagnostic. You just ended up with a blur or something. You could wipe that out, reset it as if it had not been taken yet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, and then the last one, the trash can, does exactly what you would think, and it just deletes it.
So
So
when the dog moves in the middle of the film and you got half of their head sitting up, you can get rid of that trash.
yes, that would be a good case where I would do the replace, because it would delete it and reset it. So because you're going to want to take something else.
Got it.
We do have flip and rotate right here if you do need to, as long as the head's facing to the left, which is pretty universal for taking x-rays, but as long as your head's facing to the left, they should show up in the correct orientation. But if for any reason you need to flip and rotate, those options are right here, and it's just what direction do you want to rotate and what axis do you want to flip it on. So flipping and rotating, placing your left and right markers, those are the two main things that I would do to the image. And then once we are finished, then we can go ahead and hit done, and that will close the study and that will send it to Rocket Packs. If there's something that you know you're going to come back later, like something like a barium study, or maybe a pre and post-op situation, we do have pause. Now you'll notice it's grayed out right now, but that's because it sees that we took everything that we chose. So if you wanted to pause the study, you could go back to add shots. Go ahead and add the next set of shots that you plan to take when you come back, and then you can hit pause and it will remain on that pending list with a little pause symbol. So you can go back and hit the radiology symbol again and open back up that study without closing it out first. Pause studies will not go to Rocket Packs until you hit done, or if there's 4 hours of no activity on a pause study, it will automatically complete it and send it to Rocket Packs. So we won't have a bunch of open studies needing to be ended, because it will auto-complete if you don't do anything with it.
Cool.
So, any questions? Seemed pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit done then. Maybe. And so then done, we'll go ahead and close out that study. It's going to save it here in our system, but then it's also going to send it over to Rocket Packs, and we can double check and make sure that it went back, because this is the first one we've done. So we'll want to make sure that it's working as we expect it to. Closing the software, there's a couple ways to do it. So when you do go to restart, you're going to want to close the software. So we can either click on where it says administrator, that's the username on here, and we can hit exit, or there's in the corner here, there's the exit full screen icon that will then give you this bar, and you can always just hit the X. Either way, whichever way you do it, it's going to bring you to this screen where all you have to do is just hit OK, and you'll see the little spinny dude. What that's doing, spinny dude is closing the process that's talking to the plate. So it's shutting that down rather than just disconnecting. And so once the screen goes away, then you're good. And then you can do the restart if you need to. So, any questions?
Does the x-ray table auto turn off? Does it need to be turned off at some point in the day, or if it's not in use?
Really, that's a good question, because I'm used to clinics at the end of the day turning it off and then turning it on in the morning. I would probably just turn it off in between, because it doesn't take long to start up. So I would just turn it off in between studies. It takes maybe 1 minute to turn on. So basically the time that you're going in here and choosing your shots and everything and be ready to go.
Awesome.
Basically walk through the door.
And then start messing with it.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, if you step down on the bar, it pops it out. Now tomorrow,